And we're up. Bars. Bars. Wait. Welcome to Headwater Science Center 3:30 show. I'm going to pull my mask down because I've been vaccinated, and so is our crew here. This is brought to you by Beltrami Electric Co-op's Roundup program. So we do this show every day at 3:30. Tomorrow's show is going to be Read to Rabbit Reader, I think. Yes, that's the one. So today's show is What's in the Water. And yesterday about this time, we were out gathering bugs. And this is our gear. We had a bucket, standard 5-gallon bucket. And this is the operator here. This is the D-net. And it has in it a scoop and a 5-micron net in here. So everything smaller, the water goes through, and all the other things, the bugs, even the Daphnia stay in there. And so we'll go through, and when we do an assessment like this, is what we're going to do today, we're doing a pollution intolerance index, and we're looking at critters that can or cannot tolerate polluted waters. Also, we're favoring diversity. So here's the gathering technique, and the standard for it is 20 jabs. So we don't just jab randomly because that doesn't make good sense. You pick up a lot of water. We jab in places that we know are going to be possible harbingers of boogery, if you will. So we take 20 jabs, and then we slap them into the bucket, and sometimes we even have to take the bucket, which is filled with the water from where they come, and put them in and rinse them like that. Then we reset our net and go for another good jab. And the 20 jab is what gives us our standard, what gives us this compared to that sort of a standard. So let's come up with what we found today. First, let's introduce the index. Now the index is, again, it has a weighting factor. And in this index, if you're one of these very intolerant group 1 creatures, for instance, the stonefly nymph, you get a ranking of 4, a weight of 4, versus one of these more lowly creatures, for instance, the rat-tailed maggot, you'd get a ranking of 1. So while we're favoring presence, we're more so favoring things that we know that are indicators and intolerant of pollution. And so we've got a 4-point scale here, and as we move down here, the weighting shifts from 4 to 1. All right, well, we're gonna do a full assessment here. Spencer and I dug through this, and so did some of our guests today, and we found pretty much everything that's in there. And this varies through the year. Well, what was our strongest creatures? What was most prevalent, Spence? What did we think we see? We saw a lot of what?
Lots of scuds.
We saw a lot of scuds. Scuds are a year through. We see them all season long. They're on our chart here, and they rank which one? Where are the scuds? Scuds are at a 3. So let's check off the scud. We found a scud. What else do we have? We found a lot of these. Now, if you've been outside, like all of us do, you've seen the dragonflies. But if you follow the phenology of our area, what you note is that dragonflies come out first, or at least more so, and then the damsels come out. So a lot of the dragonfly larvae is already hatched. They're already out there. We're not catching them so much. But what we found a lot of today were damselfly larvae. So if you bring that camera in here, there's some damsels right there. And how do we know they're damsels? We can tell by what they look like. And here's the key feature, is the 3 segmented tail, and that the gills are back on the tail, and if you look close enough, maybe you can see those gills. Perhaps we can scope those up.
Point to that tail again, James.
You just want to flip for that tail, that 3, and that's where its gills lie. That's where it breathes into the water. It's a very different program than what the dragonflies do. They're both in the same group, the Odonatas, but they have a different style of survival. So let's put damselfly on our checklist. They're in that 3rd category as well. So these are animals that have a weighting of 3. What else did we find today out here? We had a fingernail clam. I remember that was.
Fingernail clam.
Yep, we found that, and that is right there in the clam tray. So we sort of isolated this, and we had our guests help us with that as well, and they had some fun doing that. I've done this 50, 100 times, and I still enjoy it every time. And there's our fingernail clam right there. And we found some right-handed snails, did we? and some left. Did we ever find it left? We found left, but not right. Was that what it was? Did we find both?
I think we found both.
So check them off. So we've got right-handed and left-handed snails on there. I thought we had them both.
James, what does that mean?
Well, it has to do with here. Maybe you can show up because you just learned this and you thought it was pretty clear to see. Show it for the camera. Show the right-handed or left-handed nature of them.
Right-handed clams, I just pick them up with my fingers,
Yeah.
are depending on which side the curl goes.
So the curl went to the left on that one, I believe, right?
The left on this one, so that would be a left-handed.
And the rights are the ones that are that are in this top group and they actually have gills.
Right.
And there's the right. So we've got one of each of those. Put them on the checklist.
Check them out.
And we'll check them out. Oh yes, we did find one of our other favorite and loved creatures, and that is these the caddisflies, which are, by the way, in our top crew. Weren't they in our most intolerant? Caddisfly.
number
Caddisflies. Here's a caddisfly for you in its shell. And if you look at that one, you'll see, maybe it'll sneak out a peek with you, but it's been hiding inside that shell. We had a few of them that were naked, didn't we, that didn't have the shell going on? Where are they? Let's show those out.
The naked ones, they were.
But these are animals that build a casing around themselves, and in this case they use some old plant material, and sometimes they throw a few rocks in there, and they stick it together, and they build that protective casing, which they use as a hollow for essentially doing an ambush attack on there. So check off the caddisflies. We got those. What else did we find on the list? We didn't find any stoneflies. We don't find stoneflies down this far down the river. We have to go further up to the headwaters to get those. But that was all we found. We found the right-handed snail, the gill snail, and the caddisfly on that. And we found some damselflies. We have that one covered. We didn't pick up a crayfish. We didn't see one. It wasn't in our 20 jabs. And then we found the black fly. Remember that one? That was the one I think that put us over the top. That was the one that almost stumped us. And we looked hard. And generally speaking, this key, this is a dichotomous key, which essentially says, is it this? Yes or no? If not, you follow the chain down to this point. For instance, at that point, we're looking at, is it worm-like? Well, no, it's not worm-like, so we go over to the things that have legs, for instance. So this is essentially a series of yes, no answers, and eventually you'll get to where it keys out to what we have, and 90% of what we see is on this key. So what else did we come up with on our list here? We didn't have any maggots. We didn't find any worms. We wanted to call that one thing a worm, no midge larvae. So let's add that up. What do we have there? We've got 2 in the 4s. We give that an 8, right? Number of 2, so that's an 8. What do we got here? We got 2 of those, and we got a 6, 9 there. And here we found a 1, which is a 2, and another 1. What's our grand total here? 8 plus 9, 17, 19, 20. So what we ended up with was good water quality in our index. We just missed the excellent. But if we'd have had 20 buckets, we might have found some more of this stuff, and we might have been able to stretch that out. But this spot where we were looking is the power dam just beneath the first dam on the Mississippi River, which is, well, it's east of Bemidji. The river kind of moves north and then east in this place in the world, and before it heads south. So it's east of Bemidji, and it's the first dam that holds up Lake Bemidji, and there's it's a good spot that I go to again and again, and one of the reasons why it's a good spot is actually because of that dam. That dam churns up a lot of oxygen into the waters, and so it makes for good habitat down all the way down that river. This is a popular spot for the recreational tubers. You've been down the river, haven't you been down there, Spence?
Been down there once or twice.
Been down there once or twice. It's a fun time for kids, for adults, and for wayward biologists as well. So what else we want to add to this story today, Spencer? We've got various scopes. We've finally had to go to this. Sometimes when we can't figure it out, with our regular key, we have to go to the bigger keys. This is a good one. I like this. I'm drawn to pictures of things for identification. But if we really have to look hard, then we pull out the bigger Bible, and we can look at certain parts, and we can actually bring it out further. Here we got a key that's with a key within the key, and that shows us how we can go deeper into figuring out which beetle, for instance, we have, which caddisfly we have. And with that, so we gave this water we gave it good.
Yeah, good.
Good, good, but not excellent. So we'll hope we can hold that at least to good and maybe push it towards excellent with a further assessment. Sometimes we'll have 2 different trays from 2 different waters, and we should actually do this more than once before we make a determination of quality. But the reason why these are good indicators is because if we go out there with our meters and take a sample of the water, we're looking at right now. These creatures have been in the water for 6 months up to 9 months or a year. So they've been sort of there essentially sampling that water for some, portion of 3 seasons or so. So they actually are a long-term horizontal indicator of what's going on in a particular body of water. So that's our program today. Are there any questions?
Spencer, before we do that, how about explaining some of this equipment? How about that piece right there? What's going on with that? What is that?
So yeah, today when we brought out our samples, we had lots of guests actually coming in through here and helping us out, pulling out bugs with tweezers and other things. Some of them are big, like these big damselflies, which didn't need any magnification, but other things like this black fly larvae was actually very hard to see, so we needed a little extra help with this large magnifying glass, which
just to find it with that one, and then when we got it, we had to bring it up even further, didn't we?
And then
we went to this.
To identify that, we couldn't really tell just by looking under that large magnifying glass. We had to bring it into
The stereoscope,
light.
the dissecting scope, and that gave us magnification of around 40, I believe, if you added it up where we were.
Right, so you might have seen it on that one, you might have taken
probably
it
4
out
or 5
of,
times. We went up
moved
to
it
about
over there.
40 here. Yeah.
Wow. All right, what's happening just over Spencer's left shoulder? It's a little blurry to the camera, but we can see something moving. What's that?
Oh, that would be a scud. A scud bug. It's basically like a small freshwater shrimp. There's a lot of fish eat these.
These are that's fish food for sure. Because they're there all year long. We find them their stages and set so much like the mayflies and the damsels and such. So yeah, fish feast on those, the little fish. And yeah, again, this is just a magnification up to another screen. We've got a 4K magnification. Sometimes magnification works against us. We miss things. But what that 4K thing gave us is it gave us too much magnification sometimes, but we were able to see the next level, the microscopic level, the Daphnia, some of the other creatures that were down in there that were beneath our eyes' ability to just pick them out. Wow. And so when we took a parcel of what looked like clear and empty water, we found things that we hadn't seen before.
Yeah. Very nice.
And this helped show the guests that were walking by here too a lot of what are the samples that we already have taken, all the bugs that we've already found, so we didn't get a bunch of repeats too.
So we're going to take this stuff and put it into our tanks, but if we wanted to preserve this stuff, and we do sometimes, we put an indicator of where we found it, put the critter into here, for instance. We'll give them a ride in there and we'll let them free. Today is not your come back here, little scud. We might put them in there, and then we pour some 70% alcohol in there. You got a second chance. That's your second try at the world. But this stuff's going to get eaten by our fish today. So we're going to put it over in our tanks. We'll get another bucket another day. But yeah, we do try to preserve a collection. And every once in a while we find something that's really curiously difficult to figure out. And then we have to preserve it so that we can expert up and find someone who can really know this stuff better than we do. So once preserved, it still has biological integrity. And that's why we use the 70% alcohol. That's our typical solution. And then we'll change that out one time. So for the permanent collection, we'll have rinsed that through, and then we'll put some clean alcohol in there, and then we'll have a sample that we can keep and show to others. Because some of us learn better from the actual sight of seeing it, like that's my way, and others of us like the key, and others in other ways. So are there any questions out there on the line we're getting? Any bug enthusiasts? This stuff is in the waters where we swim, and we're happy about it because this is the seed to the fish population that we love to go out, catch, and recreate about. So you don't have this, you don't have those fish. That's just a story that is a truth.
All right, James, as you take us out, repeat that sentence.
You don't have these, you don't have fish. This is the base. This is the biological base of our good fishing population out here.
That's our show for today. Thanks for